right, everyone. Hopefully our audio is working and hopefully we're actually live. What we're doing today is just a really kind of impromptu thing to sort of test our connection here in the shop. And I got to remember to look at the camera actually and not the laptop screen. So we're out here in the shop. We've got Wi-Fi that beams over here and it's a little spotty. I did the speed test like right beforehand and it's not the best. So we're going to see if we can make it happen. So what we're going to do as part of the test is just sort of make sure that this is stable and works kind of for 20-30 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and work on putting brake pads on this side of our F-250, which is a real simple job because we've already got the calipers on, we got the new rotors on, got the new brake line installed. The holdup was I received the wrong brake pads twice now for this truck. So finally got the new ones about a week and a half ago, and they've been sitting in the box waiting to get done, fortunately before a lot of this coronavirus stuff really took hold. So got the right parts, pretty confident because I looked and they look pretty much the same. Part number matches up, so I think we're in good shape this time. So what we're going to do also is kind of show you what we have going on here. I got this camera down there. I'm going to switch over to it with our software here. It's kind of one of these little fake GoPro things, and the cool thing about it is, hopefully you can still hear me. Oop, did I just turn it off? Nope. All right, good. I thought I just turned it off, but here it is. I can take it off the tripod. As you can see, we've got a little tripod set up that we'll put it on. We got a couple tools laid out, and we got some lights so you can see what we're doing. As for our little setup here, I've got my tool cart that I built a couple years ago, and it's got some nice casters on it, so it rolls pretty easy. And we got our laptop set up, and we've got the other webcam that we can transition to. And I'm also trying out, once again, that cheap wireless microphone that I have. And I put the noise suppressor on, so hopefully the noise from the connection isn't too bad, and we're going to try. So I'm going to mount this back. Sorry for making you dizzy, but it'll be on the tripod from now on. Transition back to this camera. And the only thing that's going to be an issue is, and this is kind of testing for how this is going to work tomorrow as well. Oh, low audio. Okay, good deal. See, this is a good test. What I'm going to do, let me go into the software here and see if I can crank up that audio. Yeah, you're right, it is low actually. Let's see. I should be able to crank that up a little bit. That one is, see, this is why this is a test, and I appreciate that some folks joined up to let me know that. So, all right, cranking it up a little bit. We'll see how that is. Hopefully that is a little bit better. I'm going to go just a tad bit more, and I'll try to actually enunciate a little more and talk a little louder. So that should be pretty good. We'll see if that catches up and sounds any better. I'll try to keep an eye on the comments in the stream, but I am going to switch cameras and be down there doing some work. And again, like normal, there's a lag here in the connection, so probably about 10 to 20 seconds or so from when I see the comment to when I make any changes in the audio. So, but I appreciate that because really that's what we're doing here. This is trying to set up and see if we can just run a stream for a couple hours tomorrow while I work on some stuff. So, all right, let's transition to our other camera and let's get to work. All right, so I'm going to try to set this one up to a spot where you can see the brakes. I think I'll move the light so that it's a little brighter. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'll switch back over to the YouTube stream and just sort of keep an eye out. If I see any comments, I can pop up and look at them. So, all right. So basically, here's our pads that we're going to use. These are from PowerStop. These are just the OE replacement style. These aren't any of the special ones or anything like that. These are just the Evolution Plus. They're the Z17s. So I know there's different ones out there for towing, truck and towing. There's ones for performance. There's track day pads, but we're going with the simple OE replacements. Now we got our hardware kit in here. Now, since we bought new calipers and the calipers came loaded, not with pads, but with the caliper bracket, they did come with the hardware. So I've gone ahead and installed the hardware on these. The only thing I didn't move forward on was that I didn't have the right pads. So here's a fun one for you, anyone watching. Here's the old pad that came off, and one of the reasons I'm glad we're doing this. This truck just sat so long, this thing is just completely rusted away. And even worse, the pad just chunked off from rust. I mean, the pad material was there when I took it out. It just fell off because of all the rust behind it. So kind of glad I didn't just start driving it. So I was like, yeah, I think I should check those brakes before I move on. So this will be pretty simple because, or at least it should be pretty simple, because it's just brakes, and I've already had this apart. So we're just going to loosen our two caliper bolts back here, and I'm going to try to do it without blocking the camera, because the whole point of this too is to try to get an idea of what it's going to be like live streaming some wrenching and doing it by myself. So it's hard enough, and I'm not complaining, but when I do the camera work, a lot of times you'll just be working away at something, you'll look back and realize you were sitting in front of the camera the whole time. It's going to be a little harder now because I'm not paying attention on the live stream. So we'll take that bolt out. We'll go ahead and just take this one out. I'm just going to take the figures. I'm on camera, so this is going to be extra difficult. It's not really, but kind of an interesting brake line design, the way that it curves around here. It made getting into some of the stuff, actually the anchor bolt, it was really tough to get something on the anchor bolt with that brake line in the way. Fortunately, I was replacing the brake line, so it became a non-issue. Why can I not finger tight get this off? Because I'm on live stream, that's why. There we go. So here is our caliper. I'm just going to set it out of the way here. Of course, like always, be careful not to pull or pinch or damage your brake line there. And then we can go ahead and just get our pads installed, put it back together, and we're good to go. Now, if I hadn't already done this, we'd be replacing these hardware pieces, and fortunately they're replaced all the way around. We do have our new rotor on. These are the rotors that you'll see whenever I make the actual video for this, and some of the stuff I put on Instagram. I did paint the rotor because I bought the super cheap ones, and used a $6 can of paint on all four of them, and some actual caliper paint, and didn't paint the surfaces, just masked them off so I could have a little bit of rust protection there. So if you were on our live stream the other day, you kind of heard the backstory of this truck, and one of the reasons that we're not really going with super high-end stuff here is just because of the nature of what this truck is. It's really just for getting some work done. And these are good enough parts. They're fine OE replacements. So now here's some really nice brake grease. I like to put just a tiny, tiny bit on the parts that go on the actual sliding mechanisms here. That's because it's a floating caliper. So I like to put just a tiny bit of grease, not much. You glob a bunch on, and it's going to get all over the place. And the last thing you want to do is certainly don't put it there, and you don't want to get it on your rotor. And but I like to put a little there and just get it on. Okay, so these are kind of fun because they're spring loaded. And I'm trying to do this without blocking the camera. There we go. I feel like I'm going to block the camera on the back one, but you know what? I'm going to walk over to the computer and just see. Okay, cool. Didn't miss any comments or anything, and looks like we're still connected. All right, we'll take the second one for the back, which I'll probably block the camera. Do very much the same. Put a little bit of grease. These pieces right here. And this is specifically, if you're curious, ceramic brake parts lubricant from Permatex. It's item number 24125 if you're looking for it. It's nice to have around. Now a lot of times they will give you a packet of grease with the brake kits. I don't see one in this one. I might have taken it out and just set it aside because I'm going to use what I got. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm blocking the view, but went ahead and put that pad in. Okay, so I do like to put some grease on the actual face, or not the face, the backing plate of the pad to kind of keep noise down. And you can kind of just spot it depending on the type of caliper you have. You can just put a little grease where the pistons are going to attach or where the front anchor pieces of the caliper will be. Or you can hold your caliper like this. Go ahead and put some grease directly on it. It's a little more efficient. And not much. You don't want to be globbing this stuff on and having it go everywhere or flying around when you're driving. Simple enough. Okay, once we got that, we're just going to go ahead and fit this on. And I know this seems like such a simple thing, but it's very monumental right now because I tried so hard to get the right part number shipped to the house. I ordered literally 3 times it took to get the right part number. So, in my defense, I ordered the right part number, just so you know, just shipping errors and stuff like that. And it was before the virus stuff hit here in the U.S. But to be fair, you know, there might have been extra load already with people wanting to buy stuff. So I'm not upset about it, but just happy I got what I needed. The thing is, if I really needed the truck to be back on the road, I could have gone out to any local parts store and grabbed parts. But I wanted to match up the pads with the rest of the parts I had bought. Plus I needed to return and get my money back on the pieces they sent that were wrong. All right, so we're just going to tighten that one up. We're going to tighten this one up. Just got simple hand tools on this, nothing fancy, just getting it done. I did do a little bit of shop cleanup this morning because I had made a mess. I was doing some metal stuff and a couple other projects outside of the truck that I was messing with. Oh, here's a common thing you got to look out for. So first of all, and I guess I could talk through more of this, but you know, we could maybe one day do an official how to do your brakes video. But with these slider pins, you do want to check them. Make sure that these slider pins, the boots are clean, that they slide well. If not, pull them out and use that same grease on them. This one, fortunately, everything is nice and new on it, so I don't have to worry about that. But what I do have to do is not rush and not pay attention because I'm wondering about how the live stream's going, and actually line this up. There's a bit of a groove in the caliper that the slider will sit in, and if you don't line it up perfectly, sometimes it'll slide in, sometimes it won't. There it goes. It's the simplest of things. It was like a 1/4 of an inch off, and now it's in, so I can go ahead and put this in. You'd figure it out as you were tightening it down, but it's something you got to look out for. All right, so we're just going to snug these up, and then we're going to torque them down. Okay, now the torque spec on these, I checked the service manual, and it is actually 42 pound-feet for our caliper anchor, not the caliper anchor, the caliper to the anchor bolts. So these pin bolts right here, these are 42 foot-pounds, which is actually quite a bit, but this is a heavy-duty truck. In a lot of passenger cars, this is usually more around the 25 range to 30 range, which is why you want to check your service manual. Get your right specs. So we're using just a clicker torque wrench here. That's 30, that's 40, 41, 42. Now the anchor bolts are a different story, but let's go ahead and torque these first. Let's see if I can get back here. All right, excellent. We'll do this one. There we go, torque to spec. Now the anchor bolts in the back, we had to use this one because those are 166 pound-feet, which is pretty darn tight. Again, big truck stuff here. Usually those are probably, I don't know, on a passenger car, I'd say normally around 80-ish, maybe 100, depends on the make, model, and of course all that good stuff. But on this truck, 166 pound-feet for our anchor bolts, the big anchor bolts in the back. And I did put some Loctite on those as well. And then these, I didn't put any Loctite on these, but 42 pound-feet, and they're good to go. So our brakes are on. We've still got some things to do. Let me see if I can show you up in here a little bit. That's the whole point. I want to be able to move my camera around and show you a couple things in here. So now I got to wait for the stream to catch up because I'm watching the video output. Oh, that stream's way behind. So I'm going to now have to get up, go to the computer, switch camera views. See, by the time I got over here now, the stream's catching up. And you can kind of see, and I'm going to leave it on here. Don't have too many people in the stream because it was impromptu, and I'm not too surprised by that. All right, so up here, that's going to show you pretty much everything we want. So we did replace the brake line and the rubber brake line. And that comes, of course, with our banjo bolt and banjo fitting. We put new copper gaskets on either side. You don't want to over-tighten those. And this is our ABS sensor wire. We made sure that was routed correctly. We made sure everything's good. So that's all set. Now our fender liner is removed out of here because we're doing brake line replacements on this truck. And I still got at least 2 of them to do. I got the big one that goes from our ABS pump, which is right here, and it snakes down and goes all the way to the back and services the back brakes. And that appears to be a 1/4 inch line. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The next piece that we have to do is one of the ones that actually goes to the passenger side front. And it looks like probably from the ABS pump as well. So up in here, goes to the front. Passenger side one. It was rusted pretty badly on the end and it broke when we took care of it. This one looks really nice. I'm almost thinking this might be a replacement on this truck. I mean, I don't know, the bends look kind of factory, at least up there, but what gets me is right here. And let me grab this so you can kind of see. Oh yeah, wait, I can do this cool thing. I can pop it out of here. Now, unfortunately, the display on the back, I have to look back at the computer. Okay, so here's the one that we need to do for going to the back. I've put a plug in it for now. Now all the ones up here, you can see they just sort of come out, which is normal. But if you see up in there, oh yeah, this is a replacement for sure. There's a union back there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's definitely a union. And that's a telltale sign it was replaced. Plus, these are all coated black. Now, this one looks like it's coated black, but it's probably just because I kind of painted the frame here with the rust encapsulator quite a while ago. So this appears to be a replacement. And the other thing that I was going to show you as to why I'm knowing it's a replacement is this stainless steel piece right here. All of the other lines appeared on this truck to have this stainless steel flex piece. Now the reason for that and why I think we're going to have to really kind of look at how these are put in, probably not a huge deal, but our ABS pump is mounted to our fender, and our inner fender and our core support basically. Actually really more on the core support. But as you can see here, this is a body on frame truck. So you got this rubber mount right here in between it and the frame. Well, then the brake lines are anchored to the frame. So you're going to have a slight bit of movement in this rubber mount, enough to cause vibration and stuff like that. So what this is designed from the factory is to give you that flex in the hose without fatiguing the steel line. Now, would you ever really fatigue this line with the amount of movement it's going to have, especially since that mount still looks pretty decent? Probably not. So, but it does beg the question, any of these that I replace, I won't have this piece unless I cut, like for this one, I believe this is the one that goes down. It actually goes around the bottom frame piece there to the other side. On this one, I could just cut it take this line off. I could cut it somewhere around here, go to my Eastwood, nice brake flaring tool, put a nice flare on it and do a union right here. And we would retain the stock piece, which is perfectly clean and non-rusted. So I might do that on that one just to retain the stainless there, the flex line. But this one obviously looks like it was replaced at some point by a prior owner and doesn't have that. Heck, I might have done it 15 years ago, who knows. So, and it looks fine and it's hanging in there and there's plenty of flex in it, but is there a risk of fatiguing that? So one thing you can do, and what you can see on a lot of other cars, is they'll put like a circular loop. So they'll do like a loop or two, and that loop kind of gives you, instead of one bend that the flex is happening, of course this is over a fairly long piece, so the whole tube will flex, kind of doing the same thing. But instead of one section that flexes with that circular kind of loop, it allows more of a uniform place for the tubing to bend without putting stress on a single area. So, that is usually what you'd see as opposed to something like this stainless steel piece. And it looks clean. So I think I'm going to retain it on this one if I have to redo that one. But on this one, I don't know if I'll redo this line or just leave it, because it actually does look really nice. There's zero rust on it whatsoever. And it's not leaking, so maybe it's not worth messing with. But at the same time, it is the shortest run, and it would be the easiest one to remake. So, but that's why we have our fender well out here. And as you can see, there's an electrical bulkhead connector that attaches the inner fender. There's a lot of other wiring and stuff, so we're going to want to put that back eventually. But with that out of the way, we can see everything and have really good access and take care of our brake lines here. So that's what we still got left to do on our brakes. Once that's done, we can refill the master and we can go ahead and do the brake bleeding. Let me put this back. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our main kind of camera here. We're going to see if things have held up on the stream. See if there's any comments. Not too many viewers, not too many comments, so no problem there. But this will end up being posted on our channel, and we'll definitely talk about it. So one last thing that I want to do is check the mobility of the cart. So bear with me. We're going to do that while we're here. So I'm going to pick up my little camera. I'm going to put it up on our table here. Switch back over. We'll get our cord out of the way of the wheels. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have one very big problem. So the nice thing about this, our cart can move and roll and come with us. However, I'm fairly confident it's not going to fit through here. That's how much space we have. That. And then our cart is that big. So that's not going to fit. So we're going to have to open the shop door, and I'm going to have to clean the tools out of the way, and we're going to have to roll it around there. So what we'll probably do when we actually do the stream, just to make it easy and not make people sick, is I do have a little be right back thing. Uh-oh. Hang on. I don't know if you can hear that on my camera, but my Pandora just kicked back up. I don't think I'm allowed to play Steve Vai on YouTube. So, all right. I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. All right, so what we'll do is we'll transition to this, and we'll mute everything, and then when we have to reposition cameras because we can't get past the truck because it's too big, we'll just be able to come right back, and here we'll be. So I think that's pretty much all we're going to do for today. Like I said, I just wanted to get everything set up, and I wanted to see if the connection here from the shop was viable to do streaming on. It looks like it probably was. I didn't notice any disconnects, and everything seems to look okay and showing good configurations and whatnot. So I think we're in good shape. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today, but I hope you all are doing well. If you want to get on Instagram, I'll make a post and kind of note that we're going to try to turn the cameras on for a little bit tomorrow. I'll probably do it while I got some things going on that I can show you, and we'll take a couple breaks and maybe do some Q&A. So if there's anything you want to ask about, car stuff, various things like that, drop some comments in Instagram, and we'll spend some time and go through those. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the live chat as we do it tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and set something up. Check us out on Instagram. We'll put the schedule in there and when we do it. But again, hey, thanks if you tuned in. And thanks for any feedback on the test. The good thing is this will post to our channel. I'll go back and watch it, and I'll get an idea if the audio was viable and the video and all that stuff. And we'll fine tune it as we go. Hey, we're learning as we do this. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon.